for driving business.
Well, we'll be back from the break. It's exactly 9:30. And of course, at this particular time, we're heading into SMB on ground, seeing what is really transpiring. But before we get there, just a quick one. What happened yesterday about the Syria-Turkey earthquake, which happened whereby more than, that is 4,300 people were killed and thousands injured after a magnitude of 7.8. Of course, earthquake struck Turkey and Syria. That was early yesterday, according to the agencies, what they are saying right there. But then just a few minutes back, a few countries have sent some aid to these particular countries that have been impacted by this earthquake. And we see that leaders, that is Australia and New Zealand, on Monday announced a combined total of 11.5 million in aid for victims and devastating earthquake that is in Turkey and Syria. Now, during the joint news conference that is in Canberra on Tuesday, the Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the country would provide an initial that is $10 million in humanitarian that is assistance through the Red Cross, the Red Crescent, and humanitarian agencies. Very, very sad seeing buildings really collapsing right there, and these are billions of money, and that is something which is going to really cost the country quite a great deal of money to get back to that particular level. Now, thousands of building collapsed, that is in both countries, and aid agencies that is in both countries are particularly worried about the northwestern Syria, and we see that more than 4 million people were already relying that is on humanitarian assistance. So what is really transpiring right there? So that is something in their very, very tricky, a very hard situation as you're observing buildings really collapsing really live from there. Okay, now away from that, let's head straight. It's a back to school week, and of course getting to understand what is transpiring. Yesterday we are looking at people into the private sector, the school owners in there. But then today we want to look at those that are dealing in the scholastic materials, and Joram is just right down there in Chikubu. We want to really understand how is the environment, how is the purchasing power in there, and then we want to really see what is really getting in there. Okay, let's connect to Joram. Let's connect with Joram just right down there in Chikubu to see what is really transpiring right there. And of course, the parents have been always complaining about the hiking of the school fees and so many other school requirements, and of which some are purchased in these very, very areas. That is in Chikubu. We want to really get to understand, are the parents really buying these materials? What is that aspect that the parents have paid much more attention to? Is it the school fees? Is it the school requirements? Well, we want to get to know that as well, because apart from the mandatory school requirements, there are those other requirements that a child really needs. You know, for example, the books. Of course, the school might require for books, but there are those extra books that you may require. You know, aspects like toothbrushes, shoe polish, shoe brushes, and so many. Now let's connect straight with Joram and see what is happening down in Chikubu. Good morning, Joram. Yes, Joram.
Good morning. Many thanks for joining us this morning. We are live from the Chikubu Central Business District. Many thanks, Barije Andrew, for that particular one. And we're on ground this particular morning. As you can see, the fever here is apparently rotating around students getting back to school. And yesterday was like the official date when students went back to school, primary students went back to school, and pretty much every parent right now is trying to trace and get their children back to their schools. And if you're to look at what is happening here in Chikubu, most of the people are actually shopping, trying to get some goods, trying to get some school requirements at the end of the day. So these are some of the things that you should as well know of what is happening here. Now, trying to understand the picture and the situation coming in from here is that most of the traders are a bit busy for the morning time here. as you can definitely see for what the camera person is able to clearly bring to you. And some of the our time and trying to at least buy their requirements, school requirements, the final touches, one would say. It is a busy school week, if I'm to say, because the month of is pretty much characterized with schools reopening, the first term. However hard it is when you look at the financial constraints all the parents are going through, you get to realize that they still have to take back their children to school. Well, the key discussions, of course, in Parliament were basically rotating around how schools will set a maximum school fees cap so that parents can be able to take their children back to school. But besides the kind of situation that regards parents seeking for at least a maximum or a minimum school fees cap so that they can be able to at least take their students back to school, be able to at least facilitate their students as well as buy these school requirements. Now, if you have to look at the outdoor businesses here, most of the school requirements here are for the boarding students. You may look at a pair of stockings, you may look at sponges, you look at soap, you look at lots of things, maybe pretty much those are elements that are actually being used by students at the end of the day. And also it goes back to the kind of requirements that most of the schools want as essentials. So if I'm to trace back to some of the days when we were still in boarding school, some of the essential commodities that schools wanted included grocery, the main grocery that is actually being used for the students. Look at accessories like main accessories.
Getting us some updates just right there, getting to see what is really transpiring down there in Chikubo. Just a little challenges, technicalities in terms of the feed, in terms of the signal, just right there. But you can see people are very busy in there executing the businesses, what they're supposed to do. Busy, of course, buying, despite the fact that there is quite high fees in that regard. And of course, we get to realize that also the requirements are very demanding at that very particular time, you know. And people are a little bit busy. Though what I want to really understand is, they are busy, but you know, it's very possible for them to be busy just passing by, trying to find out the prices, but not willing to really purchase what they have to purchase at that particular rigor. Now, back to school. I remember it was, of course, such a time, very tricky one, way back in the day, seeing, you know, how things are transpiring, and you know, that whole feeling about getting back to school wasn't, sometimes it was a little, you know, but it's the way, it's the future to ensure that you have yourself sorted out very right, and it's very sad if you don't really attain this education. Now, of course, we shall be also getting connected to Mbarara, team just right there in Mbarara, as we see how the business is really transpiring right there in Mbarara. Of course, we know it's one of those cities that are really having quite a very potential economic stability in terms of the business activities that really transpire in there. And of course, despite the fact that majority of the natives that stay in those areas actually vacated, coming down back to town to see how, to Kampala town, let me say that, to ensure that they can see what they can earn a living in that particular aspect. And now we're getting straight connected to Mbarara and see what is really transpiring, and see, as you can already see right there on the conference, trying to address, of course, a few matters in there, and we're observing something very interesting. And I know we shall be in position to understand how the business climate is like there. What are those possible potential investments which are in that particular region? And of course, the information will be very relevant for you, of course, making decisions, you know, making the informed decision where to really invest. So that is what we are transpiring. That is what is transpiring in Mbarara just right there. Let's get there real quick. Okay, well, just a little few disruptions in there, but of course we shall be in position to get in touch with the people just right there to see what is transpiring. Well, it's exactly 39 past 9, and of course we're coming to the end of the show, and of course all the way from where we started from, trying to understand what is really transpiring into the world of business. And remember, above all, you have to make the right decisions, as of course we ensure that the loss that you gain today, you make sure that tomorrow you try to recover from that loss. Your ability to recover from that loss will be a very determining factor when it comes to, you know, business sustainability and longevity for a very long period of time. And of course, such a period, of course, the scholastic material, those that are selling the scholastic materials, it's a very potential week for you to maximize sales. And actually, some people have a tendency, when such days come, what they normally do is that they go and invest and of course get money and purchase those school requirements to ensure that they can also earn that money in that particular period. You know, so it's important to be strategic. And we have some seasonal traders, and some people, not necessarily because they can invest in something, not because it's what they are really specialized into, but simply because that's what the season is calling for. So in that way, they will invest the money and of course make it right there. And that is what is happening right there in town, you know, like we've been observing. So how shall the business week be like? So we want to know. Of course, by the end of the week, we shall be able to assess and analyze, and of course come to the realization that, you know, whether the schools have made the profit or not, or whether the people, that are selling these materials are making the profit, or the parents have just decided to focus on only paying for the school fees in that particular regard. Well, that is it for now, and of course make sure that you take care of yourself very well, and, you know, ensure that you're very careful. The year is we're already in the seventh day, that is on the second month. And of course, how far have you gone in terms of personal assessment of all the things that you have been really doing in there? And of course, we are still getting back to Mbarara to see what is really happening in there, but just a few technicalities in there, but we shall be connecting straight there and see what is really in there. What are the opportunities, like I said earlier, and of course, what is that wise decision that as an investor you should make to ensure that, you know, you make it through to the business world. Mbarara in for you right there, and quite lots of possible investments. And of course, more of that is going to be reviewed throughout the day. I shall be having the live feeds in there, getting to see the situation on ground right there. And I believe as a viewer, you will be, of course, there is something that you will be able to pick from this particular aspect. Yes, it's exactly 43. Of course, all the way we started. Yes, we're connecting to Mbarara probably. And of course, just as we are connecting, we just get a few technicalities in there to see what is transpiring in the conference. What is that is being discussed in there, to see that, you know, it makes quite lots of sense in that regard. Still
Council of Mbarara University of Science and Technology, and we are honored to have the chairperson of council. We have got the other side, VUB and other institutions of members of the board. They are there for the success of the project. But we also have raving fans who are cheering us, who are seeing what we are doing and the rest of it. But I'm saying the raving fans, we cannot work alone to deliver. We have to work with those raving fans, the different key stakeholders within our community. They are there. We appreciate you, and thanks for honoring this launch. But what is very, very important for teams succeed, whether you go in the extra time, whether you go in the penalties, we need to be calm. Everybody who is behind the implementation of this project will have to be calm. Like the way you are supposed to play soccer, we have to implement the project the way it is. I know football or games have got rules. For us who have got rules, we had to design a management manual, which we are supposed to follow. We have got the financial regulations, which are supposed to follow different financial regulations for the good of the implementation of this project. And I believe, my thinking, Your Excellency, and the Chairperson of Council, if we do this, we should be in a position sort of, or to address the institutional gaps. You can imagine we are going to equip and even strengthen 4 labs within the institution spread across different faculties. We are going to address issues of the community. I believe by doing that one, we should have contributed something to the kitty as far as solving the demographic issues of southwestern Uganda, specifically the 9 districts, and addressing the gaps, institutional gaps owned by the University of Science and Technology. With those many words, our Vice Chancellor, I know the Chairperson of Council will say it, would have loved to be here in the morning session. There's another parallel function for the university taking place in Pshenye, but he's going to be with us this afternoon. As we say, succeed we must. Succeed we must for God and my country. And I thank you.
Another round of applause to Associate Professor. Let me invite Professor Gilly Cohen. You can continue clapping as she comes. If you don't mind, Professor Gilly Cohen is our Flemish coordinator, and after that, she will let us hear from the Vice Rector at VUB as well. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Your Excellency, Mr. Chairperson of the Council Board, dear representatives of the local authorities, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to welcome you here today to celebrate the official launch of a long-term institutional partnership between Mbarara University and several Flemish universities and university colleges. This launch is the culmination of a relationship that we have been building since many years in working together in several short-term projects with MUST. But the first seed of the IUC, a long-term institutional university collaboration program, was planted in 2018 when our former and regretted Vice Chancellor Caroline Pauwels visited MUST and Mbarara. After that, we started to work ourselves through the application procedure. A MUST delegation visited VUB, and we also planned to visit MUST to continue this work, but then we entered the COVID area, and we were not allowed to travel. Still, with the commitment and persistent work of the MUST and VUB teams, we managed to meet frequently online, and after many discussions, mails, and draft versions and amended versions, we've put together an application that was successful and allowed us to move on and to engage other colleagues from other Flemish universities like Ghent University, University of Leuven, and Ho West University College. Last year we could finally come together and join the MUST team here in Mbarara and plan the future lines of our collaboration for the next 5 forthcoming years. The common vision behind this partnership is that higher education institutions play an important role in shaping and changing societies. The late Vice Chancellor from VUB stressed the importance of our university being an urban, engaged university. Similarly, from its inception, MUST has used community-based education, research and service, COBRS, as its underlying philosophy in its training programs. As such, we share the vision that universities should reach out and actively engage with different societal actors and communities and tackle real-life problems. This common ground allowed us to work out a project proposal where we provide a central role to the university and university colleges in addressing the demographic challenges in southwestern Uganda in a sustainable way, with respect and specific attention to the most at-risk populations. As it is essential for community-based research to work over disciplinary fields, I am proud that we managed to bring together researchers and experts from very different disciplines like medicine, business and management sciences, engineering, gender studies, ICT, law, and so on, to work together. Working together in a large and in many ways diverse team can be enriching, but obviously comes also with challenges. To have a successful collaboration and achieve tangible results, it is important that we build a strong partnership that is based on equal respect and mutual trust, where we take time to sit together and listen and learn from each other and freely discuss our concerns. If we manage to further establish such a good relation, the UCOPS 3 will continue to grow and bear many fruits in terms of enhanced education and training of staff, innovative and locally grounded knowledge, and societal interventions in areas of environmental protection, sustainable food production, affordable energy technologies, sexual and reproductive health, youth employment, as well as gender and household relations. On behalf of the Flemish team, I sincerely wish to thank MUST and MUST UCOPS team for their kindness and hospitality. I also wish to thank FLIR for their trust and appreciation of our project, and the Flemish and MUST team members for their commitment and sustained efforts to bring the best out of this project. Succeed we must. Thank you. So now I'd like to introduce our Vice Chancellor, International Relations, who could not make it, who could not join us here today, but she left, she spoke in a video message, so I hope we can hear her now.
We have a counterpart in VUB who couldn't make it physically, and that's the video that we are yet to watch with the remarks. Since we are now in the digital world, so we can listen to her. Yeah, you can be greeting your neighbor who you haven't seen. You can say hello since in the morning you haven't done that. Meanwhile, as we sort out the technical challenges, but you're welcome. I had my Indian friend, he would speak some broken English and he would say, when I see you, I'm happy. So when we see our partners at MAST, we're happy. And I would like to recognize the presence of our partners once again as we sort out the video challenge. We have National Agriculture Research Organization, well represented. Can you stand up for recognition, Dr. Harriet Chirunda? Yeah. We actually have also our partner, Uganda Wildlife Authority. We have Chief Warden here, Mr. Kure Musinguzi. We also have Mr. Katana, the Senior Warden in charge of the Southern Sector. Thank you so much for in Bwindi, all the way from Bwindi, the Mountain Gorilla hub. So we are so delighted. We have our partner Center for Energy and Energy Conservation. We can also wave if they have already arrived. Not yet here, but we have our senior environmentalist, Mr. Jeconius Msingwire from NEMA. Thank you so much for coming. He's our focal point for this Western region. We also have representatives from the Ministry of Health, if there's anyone here. Ministry of Health. National Information Technology, I saw the director here. Nita, thank you so much for coming. And we are so delighted to have Annabelle. We had invited Annabelle, a Belgian organization. Hopefully they're on the way, coming, but they have different projects being implemented in southwestern Uganda. Yeah, we also, of course, have the media. The media is a very important partner for MAST. Media, can you wave to MAST? Because you are very important to us. We know even without waving, we already recognize your presence. Yeah, by the virtue of your locomotion. And we also have our dear deans and deputy deans who are present with us. Deans and deputy deans, I can see the Dean, Faculty of Medicine, the Dean, Faculty of Applied Sciences and Technology, our landlord where we are right now. Okay, the Chief Landlord is here. And we also have the Deputy Dean, Faculty of Applied Sciences and Technology, Dr. Bosa. Thank you so much for coming. I don't know whether I have missed out another dean that could be present, but we have a well-represented university leadership. Our university secretary had already been introduced, but we are honored to have you this morning. And Dr. Martha as well. Dr. Martha Choshaba, Academic Registrar. Our university secretary is Mr. Milkwaya Biarhanga. I think I've not missed out another dean. But we also have someone in charge of our grants office, the grants manager, Madam Jacqueline Karuhanga. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, so of course we can't do much without the procurement unit. So we have the boss of the procurement unit, our principal procurement officer. Can you wave? He has the highest, I think the highest height in this room. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Vincent Watampora. So we are trying to sort out the issue, but I think it's now sorted. In the interest of time, let us have to listen to the Vice Rector.
As the Vice Rector for Internationalization of the Verenigde VB, I welcome you to the launch event of the EUC project entitled University as a Facilitator for Community-Based Sustainable Solutions to Demographic Challenges in Southwestern Uganda. For the VB, we welcome this EUC program as a start of successful international collaboration, which will play an important role in VB's internationalization strategy. 10 years of collaboration is exceptional in these times of quick wins and short cooperation models. This EUC program does not come out of the blue, as we have been previously cooperation in the context of Leroy's project with other Ugandan institutes, such as Mountains of the Moon, wherein the VB plays a crucial role. The EUC program will focus on building capacity of MUST and must focus on improving living conditions of Ugandan people inside and outside of academia. I would like to thank MUST University, US, and DGD for hosting this event and inviting me to contribute. I wish you all a successful launch of the project and the opportunity to connect with international organizations and local stakeholders, to exchange insights and to forge synergy that can help turn this ambitious project into action. Good luck.
Thank you so much, in your absentia, Professor Cullen, for the wonderful remark and blessing us as Virige University Brussels. So I would like this particular time to welcome a very important person, our University Council Chair, who is chairing the MUST 7th Council that was inaugurated in 2019. And Dr. Wallen is a Ugandan public health physician and an infectious disease epidemiologist. And I would like to thank him for the 25 years of experience and welcome him to address you. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Medad, for that rather flowery introduction that I probably don't deserve. Your Excellency, the Ambassador, faculty members from different universities from Belgium, and faculty members from MUST, colleagues, students, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to MUST again. I'm delighted, and somebody prepared a few remarks for me here. I hope I will do justice to them, but if I don't beat him or her, instead beat me altogether. I'm delighted to be part and parcel of the opening of this meeting, predominantly because there are two reasons. University collaboration all over the world is the bread and butter of academia. It is peer reviewing, peer challenging, extending boundaries, and questioning all sorts of assumptions. A project that is community-based like this one, that cuts across, that is multidisciplinary, is one important value for universities, because a university that does not translate its academic capacity into the benefit of society, into the benefit of the population, is perhaps not worth its name. I mean, we could sit here and write all the PhDs we want. We could sit here and do all researches that we want. We could intertwine and interact with all sorts of universities as MUST. But what about the community? This project has got that indelible mark. This inter-university collaboration project, its biggest genetic markup will be what it leaves into the community in the southwestern region. Mr. Ambassador, Your Excellency, this is not a common project in Uganda, if my memory serves me right. It's not common, it has not been replicated. This is the first one, and the benefits of these different universities, Mountains of the Moon, and different universities in East Africa, benefiting from this Belgian technical cooperation, is a major, major landmark as far as I'm concerned. And I'm a student of different collaborations from different universities, as I was telling you, some of our colleagues yesterday. The transfer of knowledge can only benefit, is of benefit as long as you transfer it. So the transfer of knowledge from different universities in Belgium, transferring that same capacity and skill to the different universities in East Africa and in Uganda in particular, is worth the investment. The taxpayers' money from Belgium is applied properly and appropriately. So I want to thank again Professor Kazova and his counterparts and all the faculty members of MUST who participated in the development of this project. I want to thank the different faculty members from the Flemish universities and all the funders from Belgium for having bought into this idea, because you could write a flowery, flamboyant project, but is it worth the money in investment? Therefore, the ultimate litmus test of this project will be number one, sustainability. How sustainable is it? And already planning for 10 years and 10 years ahead is very good. It's not for short-term gains. And that makes it very, very sweet in the sense that you are in for the long haul, you meet obstacles along the way, there will be challenges along the way, but you wave them off and adjust as you move along. Hopefully, that will not be the end of this project, but we are in for a long haul. Now, in order for us to be in for a long haul, the university and from the council side, we shall demand accountability. We shall demand both cost and impact accountability. Because without accountability, how do you justify your existence? And in my other day job, I look at corruption and address it. So it's dear to me, the cost and impact accountability of a project in order for us to justify why the Belgian ambassador gives us money or convinces Belgium to give us money. Of course, the other indelible mark will be what body of evidence do we leave behind for those in the academics? What have we unearthed? What have you contributed in terms of new knowledge? What have you expanded? What boundaries? What have you challenged? What questions have you raised for purposes of this? That's another good and great value for that project. Lastly, the benefit to the population, which I talked about. The ordinary person means most at-risk populations. How are they benefiting? How can the ambassador justify his job here? What help has he brought in? This project, hopefully, will be a testimony of your presence, Mr. Ambassador, in Uganda. There is one thing I would like to sell to both the faculties, Mbarara University and Belgium universities, and I mentioned it yesterday at the cocktail with some people. Exchange of students, exchange of scholars. Not only should we have Belgian students coming to do PhDs and masters here, not only should we have our students going to the different universities in Belgium to either interface, stagiaire, or whatever, but let it be an inbuilt component of the project. Let us have university students from Ghent, from Antwerp, coming to do research here. There is bigger value beyond academics, beyond the papers, the network you build. The sanctity of that network cannot be emphasized. So I hope we shall have, in the next 5 years, or before this project ends, we shall have a Belgian student graduating from here with a PhD of Mbarara University of Science and Technology. And it can happen. It's not impossible. It's been done before. This project, Mr. Ambassador, as a government, and I should say that, is a big welcome and a big testimony of the cooperation between Belgium and the Uganda government. On behalf of the council members who may be here, Professor Charles Tushabomwe, Professor Kagoro, Professor Ngonzi, and have I forgotten any other university? And of course, our secretary of the, I wish to welcome you all again to this project. I wish to welcome all our guests from Belgium. And it is my singular pleasure on behalf of the council to declare this meeting open. And I thank you very much. Succeed we must. Very sincere apologies. Professor Bua will be with us in the afternoon. He was not able, as Professor Tshabuma had said, was not able because of another engagement, but he surely would have liked to be here. And I just wanted to pass that personally on his behalf. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Another round of applause to our University Council Chair. Thank you so much, and we take on the challenge you've given us. I think Professor has been noting down. He always says we have unfinished business. So he has challenged us with a number of points, and I believe we'll take into consideration your remarks, our dear Chairman Council. At this material time, I would like to inform you that we've made some adjustment in the program. In the interest of some of the issues that are beyond control. So we will have next on the agenda our ambassador, His Excellency Rudy, who is going to address us. And once he has done that, he's going to sign and launch the MAST IUC UCOBS project. And then we will move to a very important event of him planting the tree. Because like you have seen at UCOBS, we are believing in fruits. Each of the sub-projects has a fruit. So he has to leave a mark. And after 10 years, we are going to be harvesting the fruits of the tree that he has planted at MAST. That, of course, will mark him going back to Kampala for another important assignment, but also for his health. I would like to, therefore, at this moment, invite His Excellency Rudy Vastertrain to address this congregation. And I will take this opportunity to take the microphone where he is. Let's welcome him with a very huge hand clap.
Thank you all, dear Chairperson, Professor, Vice Chancellor, professors, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with an apology, a double apology. First of all, I'm not dressed like an ambassador today, sorry for that. When I left Kampala, somehow my suit did not make my car. And so I noticed that when we were entering Mbarara, and I was a bit too late to go back and pick up the suit. So I'm dressed today like the president of Uganda often is. In actually the same textiles from Nightil and everything. So first apology. Second apology, I really have an eye problem. I had eye surgery Friday, and Saturday, Sunday, everything was fine. And then yesterday in the afternoon, it started to pain me, and it's really paining me, and it's increasing. So I'm a bit worried. So I need to go back to Kampala today earlier than foreseen to see the eye doctor, the surgeon who did the surgery on my eye, to be sure that nothing is wrong there. It's really a bit disturbing, and sorry for that. So you have half an ambassador with the dress code, you have half an ambassador with one eye only. And when I was young, I went to school, there was the time when in school you learned to read and write, and you learned to calculate. So when you have a half and a half, and you multiply, you have a quarter. So here today you have only a quarter of an ambassador in front of you. And I'm sitting because I need to be closer to the paper. That is a bit too far, so that's the reason why I'm sitting instead of standing there. I was personally a witness at the start of our bilateral cooperation in Uganda in 1995. There was no embassy of Belgium in Kampala, and we covered Belgium, we covered Uganda from Kenya, Nairobi. As a junior diplomat then in Nairobi, I had the privilege to visit Uganda several times from Nairobi. We signed the first MOU in 1995. with a focus on water and sanitation, and followed by health and education. We always had a specific concern for gender balance and for the environment since 1995. Now, between 97 and 99, I was a counselor in the team of then Minister of Foreign Affairs, Erik de Rijke, and I could convince him to engage, to enlarge actually our operation program and to open an embassy in Kampala in 1998. That's when we opened here in this country. Who would have thought then, back then, that I would end my career being the ambassador here myself? I didn't think that, certainly not me, but it may be a good illustration of my personal belief in Uganda and the Ugandans. I also it probably entitles me to express some critical remarks today. Water has since flown through the Nile and through the Ruizi River, the river here in Barara. Belgium has been present in Uganda now for 25 years with an embassy and with a full-fledged development program, with a considerable impact for the people of Uganda. Last week, I hosted a dinner for a judge, and the Ugandans probably know who she is. She's the director for public prosecution, Jane from Karamoja. A great person, by the way. And we found out that she had been a beneficiary of a Belgian scholarship to study law in Makerere University. We have a large network of alumni students, and we were discussing that before the official meeting started. Alumni who studied in Belgium, who studied in Uganda with Belgian scholarships, or elsewhere, mostly in Africa. And we met again now for the first time since Corona during a meeting in Kampala at the end of last year. Over 1,500 alumni are on our list today, and they studied in many fields: education, engineering, medicine, agriculture, environment, development cooperation, development evaluation, community development, public health, and governance. Education has been a cornerstone in our programs in the past 25 years. But when we talk about cooperation between Belgium and Uganda, we don't only mean the official bilateral cooperation between two governments. There are also quite a number of non-governmental actors who contribute to the growth of Uganda. We additionally fund international organizations like UNICEF, UNCDF, OHCHR, that's the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, and other to bring their expertise to Uganda. And most of all, the focus of today's gathering, our academic institutions work together, Ugandan and Belgian academic institutions. Belgian universities and higher education institutions have throughout the years invested lots of time and energy to build this cooperation and to make it thrive. Belgian universities have been very active in developing their own partnerships directly with Ugandan institutions. At least 7 programs are ongoing in Uganda on epidemiology, safe drinking water, mental health, maternal and child health, mass rearing of edible grasshoppers and edible crickets, innovative research, quality teaching, and sustainable agriculture. 6 Belgian universities and 5 Ugandan universities are collaborating in this field. At the Embassy of Belgium, Kampala, we deploy a lot of energy to follow all these initiatives and to try to create synergies. We have a name for it. What you do here is, what we do in Kampala in this field is academic diplomacy. My team in Kampala, with Koen van Akkoleyen, with Luc Pierson, Monica Achiru, and Rosemary Sevume, is actively involved in that academic diplomacy. Because we believe that working together gives more impetus to everyone's effort. In Belgium, we have a national device. It goes, l'union fait la force. Eendracht maakt macht. Working together builds more powerful outcomes. I'm therefore particularly happy and proud to be invited today to say a few words. The Mbarara University of Science and Technology, MUST, is focusing on a particularly sensitive societal problem in Uganda, how to manage the demographic evolution. The population growth is probably the most important challenge for Uganda. Today, according to the latest data from the UN, and they are not the same as the government uses, the total population stands at 49.5 million people, almost 50 million, of which almost half are 14 years or younger. You know that by 2050, that is how long to go, 27 years from now, this population will double to 100 million in Uganda. It's an enormous challenge. And there is no policy in place to cope with this challenge. And the public expenses for education and health continue to slide down in the national budget. If not addressed, this might lead to a catastrophe. It is high time for a wake-up call. The UCOPS project has the ambition to contribute to find solutions and responses for this demographic challenge. Such solutions can only be multifaceted, with attention for sustainable development and environment and agroecology, for digitalization for development, attention for sexual and reproductive health and rights. This attention must be focused on youth, women and girls, and refugees. Our bilateral Belgian program for the coming 5 years, implemented through Enable, it focuses on 2 pillars. We have developed that program for the years 23 to 27 with our implementing partner Enable. The first pillar is for young people, especially young women, to acquire skills and find decent jobs or entrepreneurship opportunities in agriculture and in the green and sustainable economy. The second pillar is the right, the human right, to safe and quality education and health care. This right must be transparently ensured, in particular for vulnerable groups, including children, girls, women, and refugees. These pillars of the Belgian program for the next 5 years, they are absolutely in line with your activities here as academic actors. That is the program you will be discussing today. The underfunding, I told you I would be slightly critical, the underfunding by the government of education during many, many years is now really beginning to have a serious negative impact. Just last week, we learned that less than half of the primary school students graduate, meaning they finish primary school. Only less than half finish primary school. I've never seen that. This came as a big shock. It means that the so-called free primary education is not a reality in Uganda. It's rather an empty envelope. How can a teacher, how can a headmaster, how can a public servant in the Ministry of Education, how can a minister for education explain this bitter reality? Now, the health sector is also dramatically underfunded by the government. The international standards, the Abuja Agreement for health in African nations' national budgets is 15%. You know that better than I do, I guess, when you work in this sector. 15% of the national budget should be spent on health services to the population. In Uganda, it is 7.7 in the current budget that ends 30th of June. Next year, July 23 until June 24, the percentage will further slide down to 6.5%. 6.5 instead of 15. We saw the impact of this reality when it took more than a month before the Ministry of Health could put together an emergency response for the Ebola wave in September and October. Health centers are now left without even the most basic medication. Just open any newspaper. It's a big thing now. Health centers have no medication, not for malaria, not for infections, not for anything genuine. The government appears to count almost exclusively on substitution of its own efforts by the donor community. Synergy with the bilateral program, what you're doing, what we are doing, what the NGOs are doing, we try to keep focus on the 12 non-governmental actors in Uganda, NGOs. The programs of the NGOs also cover 5 years, 22 to 26. They're already 1 year ahead of us. And the programs cover sectors like food security and food systems, water conservation, forest ecosystems, family entrepreneurship, value chains, and agriculture. Let me quickly name the NGOs in alphabetical order: BOS Plus, Joint for Water; Broederlijk Delen, Île de Paix, SOS Fin, Ricolto, Trias, Vétérinaires Sans Frontières, and VVOB. You know most of these, they work in similar sectors, and the programs take place primarily in Rwenzori, Albertine, West Nile, Karamoja, and Busoga. Between these actors, there is certainly merit in sharing knowledge, and we are most grateful for you here today from Belgium to share your studies and findings. At the embassy, we regularly hold academic talks. We bring together Belgian development actors to discuss new evidence. We also participate in different donor groups in Kampala, in particular in Team Europe, and my team and myself are involved in high-level meetings with the government and with multilateral organizations. We can therefore play a role of advocates and disseminate your findings and outputs in order to potentially influence policy. Let me formulate a few brief conclusions. First, I truly appreciate the level of your involvement, the level of our involvement in what you're doing as an embassy so far in this cooperation in Barara. And again, I apologize that I can't stay longer, really something beyond my will. We were introduced to this IUC project over a year ago. You met with Koen van Akkoleje and some other people at the embassy. The embassy team had the opportunity to meet with some of the participants in the different thematic groups. I'm always looking forward to learn about the tangible results you will achieve. I want to congratulate MUST and Vlieg for having engaged in this partnership. Through Vlieg, I want to thank the different Belgian universities involved under the coordination of the Vrije Universiteit Brussels, VUB. I strongly believe in the added value of a direct partnership between universities of Belgium and Uganda, and my presence today is a clear mark of my trust in your work and collaboration. So I'm most happy to launch UCOP's project, but let me read this in full at least one time. UCOPS means university as a facilitator for community-based sustainable solutions to demographic challenges in southwestern Uganda. And that is quite a bit. This project is most certainly a meaningful attempt to better life for the Ugandans living in the southwestern Uganda. I have been critical about some achievements of this government, in particular in the fields of health and education, which we know quite well as the Belgian development partner that we are. In the same time, Uganda has advanced quite a bit from the rebellion war years ago until today. And you know, yesterday in Barara there was a big celebration of the start of the, today we would call that of the terrorist war of the rebellion war of NRM against the then government. That was the start of the first attack took place yesterday, 42 years ago. And so all the military involved in that war, who were still active, they were here with the president and with my Minister for Affairs, J.J. Odongo. I met him, by the way, yesterday evening. So if you see the advance made between 86, taken over by NRM, and today, it is almost incredible. But then, there's also a lot missing. So that were my critical words. More is possible and more is needed. But we, Belgium, we stand by the Ugandans to help where needed and where possible. When I look back at 1995 and 1996, when I was here the first time, when I first got to visit Uganda and suggested to open an embassy here, Embassy of Belgium, there is a fine feeling of accomplishment in my heart and soul today. It feels a bit like homecoming, in spite of all the obstacles and difficulties. Now I wish the same to all of you, that next year, in the next years, the next decennia, hopefully, when you come back here to continue this cooperation, it will also feel good in your hearts and souls. I wish for all of you also this good homecoming feeling in spite of all the obstacles and difficulties. I wish you a highly successful and inspiring partnership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for the wonderful words of courage. We are now very, very strong to implement the UCOPS project. Thank you so much and wish you good health as you return to Kampala. We have one important occasion as a sign of celebrating this launch. So His Excellency is going to sign on the official board for UCOPS. And after that, he will plant a tree where after 10 years we need to witness what happens after that fruit tree has been planted. So let me kindly request you to stand up in the company of the University Council Chair and the coordinators and the Flemish Bureau's representative, Madame Catherine, and then you walk and sign to make a mark on the UCOPS launch today. That's a very, very important part of today's celebration. You'll be the one to cut that ribbon and then append your signature, and then the rest of us, all of us actually are going to sign on this board. And after that, we'll have the board hanged in the UCOPS boardroom as a way of a life mark that we can always refer to. So, all right, as he comes over, I will ask someone to hand him over the mark where you're going to use for signing. You'll first of all cut the ribbon. After cutting, we all clap to the Almighty God for this wonderful activity. 1, 2, 3. And you can now reveal to us the new project, the Must IUC UCOPS project. Anywhere, and that will be followed by the University Council Chair, and all of us will append the signature on that board. and the local coordinator, and then